All right. Here we are. A HellaBass Live Thursday night edition again this week. So back-to-back Thursday nights. And this week, I'm going to go for it here. Jay Przekurat. How'd I do?
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Pretty good for first
right
time.
On. Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard a lot worse.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's been butchered multiple times.
Yeah, right on. I'm used to. I'm from the north. I'm from the Midwest. You know, there's a lot of those Scandinavian, Eastern European names floating around. So you kind of get to, I get to work with Polish Pete over at Omnia and Pres Paroya, I think is so. But right on. Well, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, just see who's what's up, Sean. A few other people, Critical Gravy, Corey. See several members hopping on. Quite a few people. Let us know, Facebook, YouTube, how's the video and sound? It sounds good on our end. Just want to make sure it looks good. Backlash Pro, Thomas Hines, Tim. People are pouring in. What's up, everybody? Yeah, just a bunch of fishing fools hanging out, talking some fishing on a Thursday night in the wintertime. Good. All right, we got somebody checking in from Facebook, so they're on too. Awesome. Look at Crispy. Well, good. Yeah, I hardwired this laptop setup in the studio for the first time ever. So we'll see if this takes care of some of that little bit of fuzzy fading I occasionally had. Well, we got Frank Jr. in the house, so this is basically like BTL late night now. So we're good. After hours. Did we put Frank Sr. to bed already? And now Frank's up running around. Thanks for turning that. Oh yeah, he doesn't like the LEDs that I flash in the background sometimes. I have no idea. We'll see how much gets here when we get here, Chris, and then we'll shovel it at that time. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining in. We're here on the live on the YouTube, on the Facebook. You might be tuning in later on the podcast, which is growing nicely as well. The people that listen to the audio down the road. I'm sure Jay, with all your driving now that you're an Elite Series angler, you might have to hook up the HellaBass podcast and listen to what some other people got to say to pass the time as a professional truck driver, part-time bass angler.
Pretty much, yeah. That's terrible.
Nice. All right, well, let's get into it. I don't know if everybody knows who Jay is. I kind of feel like a little bit under the radar, right? There's been a lot of people getting into the opens, and you just quietly just fished one division, took second in the points and made the elites.
Yeah.
And it kind of all happened, like, I think, wasn't there one central early and then the two were right at the end? So it kind of like just
there
was out of nowhere, right? Like there wasn't like that. Oh, he's in the points and he's close. It was like you had a decent tournament cash to check, then you got a top 10, and then like 2 weeks later you were in, right? It was like bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. It was like we started off in Pickwick. I ended up 17th there, and that was in April. So, and we were originally supposed to go to Smith Lake, and that was supposed to be like right after that. Or no, that was actually supposed to be before Pickwick, excuse me. Yeah. And but that got canceled till October. And then we had the back-to-back tournaments in October, so I had to wait all summer. I had a decent finish and I was sitting okay. And then the Smith Lake tournament happened. I top 10 there, and then I was actually sitting in first in points after Smith, or I was tied for first. There was like 2 points behind. And then, at that next tournament, I ended up squeaking into second, and pretty crazy stuff to happen that fast.
Right. And so Jay is one of the new Elite Series rookies for 2022. He qualified through the Central Division this year, just fished one division, as we talked about. What are you, like 22, 23?
22.
22. Yep. So ripe old age of 22. Jay does have an IG. I believe it's just his name.
It's just Jay. No, just Jay Przekurat, just the letter J and then my last name.
And it's spelled exactly how it sounds.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, probably not, but
right. So Jay's from Wisconsin. Was it Stevens Point?
Yep, Stevens Point, right in the middle.
Right. So if you're familiar, and it's like right there, right? Like that's how what you do.
Pretty much.
So I went to Stout as college back in the late 90s, and like I like, oh, hey, where are you from? And like all these kids from Wisconsin started pointing at their hand, and I was like, why
what does that mean?
At your hand? They're like, oh no, your hand is shaped like Wisconsin, and I was like, It is.
No, you're right.
But awesome. And yeah, so we're having him on, gonna talk to him. We'll cover some things. He's been down to Florida doing a little sneaking around this. I don't know if he was breaking in his boat or what he was doing. We'll talk about that. We'll talk a little bit more about his journey on how he got here, some of his fishing heritage back in Wisconsin, and we'll cover just whatever comes up, answer a bunch of questions. Keith wants to get right in the nuts of it. He wants to know what's Jay's bread and butter.
Ooh,
Fireball jigs.
Yeah, I do. So I do a lot of Keith. I do a lot of fishing around like central Wisconsin and a little bit northern Wisconsin. So we have a lot of like flowages and rivers, a lot of like current based stuff. I like to like swim a jig and flip a jig is probably like my bread and butter on those fisheries.
I feel like we can be best buds already, Jay. Like
Yeah, right.
You're right, my bread and butter. Nice. What's up, Will? Good to see you. All right, where do we begin? I guess before we get too far in, I want to thank Arsenal Fishing for supporting the channel, supporting the stream. We'll have the code up on the bottom in a little bit here. If you guys want to check out Arsenal Fishing, we appreciate what they do for the stream. So you kind of like jumped into you qualified as the elites out of nowhere, which is kind of interesting because, right, you hear about all these guys like Brad Hullman and Matt Pangrack and guys that have been around for a long time. Their names are escaping me, but we got all these guys that are coming back to the opens or trying to get back into the elites and things like that. And you just fish one division and you're in. And everybody talks about how hard it is. Why was it so easy for Jay?
I wouldn't say it was easy. I mean, it was not easy. Nothing in the opens until you've actually experienced it now. So I had what I can take credit for some of my success was having 2 years prior to this year fishing as a co-angler on the opens. So I had those 2 years under my belt, basically seeing exactly how it goes down in an actual like 225 boat field. Like you don't know what that's like until you actually get out on a body of water and see 225 bass boats fishing for the same prize. And obviously nowadays there's no secret. So you pull up on 3 of your spots you got and there's 2 boats on one of them, 3 boats on the other, and maybe 1 on the other one. You kind of just have to fly with what it's not exactly you might not, especially in those tougher tournaments we fished in the fall. I mean, those were like 5 keeper bites a day kind of deal. And you just like fly what what you learned in practice, not necessarily exactly what you found like spot on the spot deal, but a lot of it I credit to that knowledge of having that co-angler experience. I did actually my first year in 2019, I was fortunate enough to win on Grand Lake as a co-angler. And then in 2020, I was fortunate enough to win on Lay Lake as a co-angler as well. So I had some good experience under my belt. I had some great pros. I learned a ton from those guys. And, I felt like it was time to take that leap. I had the financial stability to do it. And to say it, it worked out is an understatement because it worked out and it worked out in a hurry.
Yeah, so that's one thing that maybe not people don't know, but you're actually a 2-time Coangler champion. So you won a Bassmaster Open in 2020 and again in 2021. So
19 and 20. Yeah,
19 and 20. Sorry, 19.
Yeah.
You qualified in 21. How many total opens did you fish as a Coangler?
I fished 4 each year. That was when they had.
Yeah,
that was when they had the 4 in the Eastern and 4 in the Central, I believe we did. And so, I fished 8 tournaments total as a co-angler.
And you won basically 25% of them.
Yeah, I guess you could put it that way.
Do you expect to win 25% of your tournaments on the Elite Series in the next 5 years?
No, but hopefully cash a check. That's my main goal is to just stay up there and just stay in contention.
Do you love gravy and biscuits, or do you prefer biscuits and gravy?
Definitely a gravy guy. Biscuits are good too. That's more of a Southern thing. Every time I go down, we go to a breakfast place. It's biscuits and gravy.
Yeah, for sure. So who was, I don't know, what was your, I don't know, maybe your most influential draw in the opens
as a boater
days?
Yeah, so I actually drew Patrick Walters in
nice.
2000, and that was in 2020, I believe. Yeah, I believe it was just last year, actually, or the year before. I drew him. That was an awesome day. Learned a ton from him. Not even, I mean, until you actually get in the boat with some of these guys, I mean, they're just other bass fishermen. I mean, they're nothing, you take people for granted. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not, obviously they're great fishermen, but until you actually like step in the boat and you're just fishing with somebody, it's, you just have to pay attention to the little things they do throughout the day that makes them so successful. So I got paired with Patrick Walters, and then the next day I was actually fortunate enough to get paired with Brandon Cobb, that was a pretty awesome 2 days of fishing on a lake that was fishing extremely tough.
Which one was that, you said?
Cherokee, and that was in like October or September.
That was the final event of the year, right?
Yeah.
Easterns.
Yeah. So having those two, just being able to see, how they work through the day, and if it's not going good, which, obviously nobody's having the greatest day ever every day of the week. So just seeing like how they handle a tough day on a lake, and just the way they act when they're not catching fish, or if they are catching fish, or if they do catch one fish, like where they go, what they're going to start looking for, just things like that. Definitely helped out.
Were there any like key baits or secret weapons? I mean, as a guy that won as a co, like, well, I mean, obviously you cashed several checks, you won 2 events. What's some baits or some advice or like some key takeaways?
Yeah. So a lot of people talk about fishing as a co-angler, and they talk about like going finesse and doing that whole deal.
Shaky head, drop shot.
Yeah.
etc.
I tend to stay away from that, just because nowadays a lot of people already go finesse. Like don't get me wrong, there's times and places that it works great, but having a bait that's like almost like a power fishing bait as a co-angler that your pro's not throwing is the key. So say your pro is throwing like a 1.5 square bill going down a 45-degree bank in the fall on Cherokee Lake, pull out a sexy dog top water, something that he's not throwing, maybe the fish haven't seen yet if it's a little bit overcast, not necessarily like going down to a shaky head and dragging it on the bottom. I can think of probably at least 70 to 80% of the fish I caught when I won those tournaments, I was fishing baits that weren't finesse baits.
Nice.
Yeah.
So kind of in the face. And when we had Fighter on a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, one of his tips was like he thought having a power bait that you could really cover water and like reach out like something like a sexy dog, right? Like, so if you see that fish bust in the middle of a pocket and your boater's just going down the bank, that you could like reach out.
Yeah. There's been multiple times where stuff like that happens where you just can't get finesse baits to them, or, because fish aren't necessarily, that gun shy just because you're fishing behind somebody. I mean, you think of it as in a team tournament too. I mean, if you guys are on fish and, there's another guy fishing behind you, he's not necessarily sitting there throwing a drop shot while the other guy's punching with a jig. I mean, you're probably both going to be going punching. So that's kind of how I think of it. I just try, and the biggest thing is always pay attention to your boater where he's making his cast. I mean, it sounds obvious, but until you're fishing an 8-hour day and you constantly need to be, if he casted there, like your odds of catching one there probably aren't very good, unless maybe you saw something that he didn't, or something, or you're doing
something so significantly different, right? Like he's power fishing and you're choosing to pitch a net or something that's
just stuff like that.
Right on. Yeah, I think we'll come back to fantasy in a little bit. It's on the list, so we'll circle back on fantasy fishing before the end of the night, because I got some things to talk about for fantasy fishing. You got any wild fish stories, whether it was the opens or back fishing team stuff with your dad or growing up? Like, what's a crazy fishing story?
I got let's think. I've got some pretty crazy ones. I just gotta think of one. Oh, I got a good one from I was 11 years old, and me and my dad were fishing a team tournament on our local river. And my dad, so we were actually sight fishing this. It was like a 3-pounder on the river, and we were sight fishing it. And my dad, he was flipping. I don't remember exactly what bait he was flipping, but he was flipping to this 3-pounder, and there was like this limb that was in front of this bed, probably by like 2 or 3 feet. And his bait was like dangling on this limb, and he was just kind of yo-yoing it up and down. But the bait wasn't actually in the bed. It was in front of the bed where we couldn't see bottom. It was a little bit deeper. And all of a sudden, like, he dropped down and his line took off, but the 3-pounder was still sitting on the bed. So he's like, I just kind of like looked over at each other, like, what's going on here? So he goes down, sets the hook. It ended up being, it was like almost a 6.5-pounder on our local river. And it got like caught up in this log like 3 times that was underneath the boat. And I missed it with the net like 3 times because I was like 11 years old. And we got it in the boat, and it was like the biggest bass anybody's ever seen on our stretch of river. It was kind of crazy.
Wow. Do you think it was just a random fish, or do you think it was the female holding
it? Was
off?
the female. I mean, looking at it now, it was the female that just never got up there yet, and somehow decided it was time to eat.
It's pretty wild. That's pretty sweet. Cool. So you grew up in Wisconsin, middle of Wisconsin, as we talked about, in the middle of the hand. And what was your? I mean, so you said fishing a lot of, was it the Wisconsin River?
Wisconsin River, yeah. So it runs. I fish a lot of northernish, like probably an hour from here, up by like the Tomahawk area. There's a lot of like flowages and reservoirs, smallmouth and largemouth. And then when I'm not fishing there, I like to fish over in Sturgeon Bay, obviously a ton. And then when I can get down to the Mississippi, I like to do that too. And then also fish down like just an hour south of here, like Big Green and Madison Chain area. I mean, we have a lot of options around here for tournaments.
There is, Gramps, but you found the right one. It's okay. Yeah, I fished the Madison Chain once. I fished Winnebago a handful of times, but I haven't spent a lot of times in that central Wisconsin area. So you did some team bass tournaments, some walleye tournaments with your old man?
No, actually, I haven't.
No?
That tournament I speak of that we fished was a 3 bass, 3 walleye tournament, and that's actually really the only tournament that we've fished together that has anything to do with walleyes. To be honest, we haven't really fished any walleye tournaments together that I can speak of.
Can't blame you. I always say walleye are for food and bass are for sport. So if you're watching, Jason, that's my take on things. But yeah, so for those who don't know, Jay's dad, it's Jason, right? Your dad?
Yep.
Yeah, he's a professional walleye angler. He fishes the NWT, right? Yep. And pretty successful, had a pretty good career. So you've kind of got that fishing heritage, but somehow you're when you fell off the family tree, you kind of sprouted off into the bass angle. So
he's good with it though. So
yeah. He's got some pretty good bass on his Instagram too, along with the walleye. So I mean,
he likes to go fun fishing for bass more than he likes fun fishing for walleyes. So
right,
he likes tournament fishing for walleyes though.
You gotta figure out where you butter your bread. So
right.
And did you do any high school, junior stuff, any college stuff coming up?
No college. So my replacement for college was kind of those co-angler tournaments.
Sure.
That was like my learning curve, I guess you could say, just because I went to a tech school and we didn't have a bass team or any of that. I actually started up a high school team at our local high school, Spash, in town. And I believe I did that because I didn't start it till like late my junior year. So I only fished like a year and a half of high school stuff. Did well in the high school stuff. And then next thing you know, it was, college and we didn't have anything there. So I jumped on to the opens as a co.
Cool. So you basically, as you were going to college, that's when you were doing the co in the opens. Who were you traveling with back then?
I traveled with Adam Nye. He's from Sturgeon Bay area. He's the one that reached out to me because he was going to fish as a boater in 2019, and at that time you needed the links for those tournaments. You know,
Right.
the boater co-angler links. So it worked out pretty good. We got to stay together, and I got to pre-fish those lakes with him for like close to a week. 4 or 5 days, and just learned a lot about those bodies of water at different times of the year. I mean, we take it for granted the fishing we have here it can be pretty good at times, but the farther south you go, the more bass boats you find, and it gets a little bit tougher. I'm not going to say it's super tough, but at times it's like, you're out there. It feels more like a job than you're actually trying to catch fish for fun at times, to be honest.
That is probably the biggest thing I would say is if you come from the north, when you first go down south, you need to have that mental adjustment to prepare for a grind. Now they have their windows when it can be, good times of the year, but more often than not, there's some, where we come from up north, you're fishing tournaments. Like if you're not culling all day, probably not having a good tournament.
Right, yeah, you're probably not doing so good.
Yeah. Yeah. Good to see you, Pete.
What's
like
up,
a brother
Pete?
from another mother hanging out.
Best last name. Yeah.
Cool. So what made you decide to make the jump to the boater side after 2 years as a co and success? Did you feel it was time, or like you just had, the winnings and you thought it made sense? And why did you only pick one division? What was kind of the thought process behind that?
I just thought it was time. I thought it was time to see if I could do it as a boater. I mean, I had done it as a co for 2 years, so I thought obviously it was some of both what you just mentioned, the funding and just to see if I could compete with those guys that have been on the boater side for quite some time and doing it and successful at it. So I thought after that, because I actually won that tournament on Lay Lake at the end of 2020, so it was like one of the last tournaments, and it was in December actually. So it was kind of a quick turnaround because I believe we had the next tournament I fished. Yeah, it was pretty quick turnaround there, a couple months. So yeah, I just figured it was time to see if I could compete with the big guns.
Right. So did you have a boat when you were fishing as a co, or did you?
I had, so prior to in 2018, I just had a real small bass boat, and I sold that. And actually, after I won that tournament on Grand Lake in 2019, I had enough funds I actually bought a 518 Ranger, and that's what I fished out of that year. And then this last year is also what I fished out of that boat. And yeah, that boat's been really good to me. And then I've, obviously won that next tournament, and things have gone where they've gone from there. And next year I'm going to be jumping into a nitro, or this year, which I'm super excited about.
21?
21, the Pro XL.
What are you going to do with all the room going from an 18
to
21?
Yeah, I know.
So you fished the central divisions out of an 18-foot Ranger and finished second in the points. So there you go. It doesn't always have to be 20s and 21s and 50s. And
talking about that, I mean, obviously I was kind of nervous about it because some of those bodies of water are, they're pretty big, and gas consumption comes into play a lot. And like some of the places we went to, like Smith, that place is giant. Pickwick's huge. I mean, we took off from the bottom end of the lake, which to the actual, what they call the tail racer, the Pickwick Dam, is like almost 50 miles or more.
Right.
And gas just came into play, but you kind of have to play your cards with the boat you have. I mean, I had to consume at times, just back off on the throttle a little bit, give yourself a little room to play. You're going to get passed by other boats, but you just can't let that affect you. You just gotta have faith in the areas you found and things like that. You can always do it out of a boat that's, not a 21 footer and has the biggest and the baddest on it.
Very cool. thought I had something I was gonna say. So you were just down in Florida.
Yeah.
But actually, before I get in that, so actually Jay and I have fished a few tournaments recently. The last 2 Northern Divisionals we both fished. The one that Patch Slopper won, you were at, and then the one that Adam Hammond won at Lacrosse this last year, you were at. We never really like chatted or talked.
No.
I don't know. We were both kind of like in the zone, focused on fishing. Saw each other, maybe said like, "Hey" or "What's up," but never really connected. But I do remember seeing you at both. You had good tournaments in both of them. I think you had top 10s in both of them. Both of them were pretty stacked from the Wisconsin side.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Actually, but you did finish second in Wisconsin at Lacrosse, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But Jim had a great tournament, and I think you were I think you were like 7th or 8th at Vermillion, but like 4th on the team. Maybe?
Yeah, 4th or 3rd or 4th on the team. It was like
so, which was weird because I finished like 4th in the tournament, but like the next closest Minnesota guy was like 15th or 20th.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Not a great look for Minnesota at that regional, but
no, those were definitely fun tournaments.
So what club do you fish in Wisconsin?
Right now I'm affiliated with, it's called Wolf River Bass Club.
Okay.
It's a bigger club in Wisconsin, just to have somebody affiliated with to fish the state tournaments around here and things like that. It helps to know people, and anytime you're affiliated with a club, you can, get to know a bunch of people around Wisconsin and jump in a few club tournaments. It's fun.
Were those the only 2 years, or did you fish prior in the nation to that?
I fished. That was actually the first year I actually tried to qualify. I actually fished a state tournament, was the one for Vermillion.
Okay. So
and
2
I
for
qualified. 2. Yeah. This year I unfortunately missed out because I was down south somewhere and I missed out on the state tournament, but oh well, it worked out.
Right. Cool. Yeah. So getting back, so you just came back from Florida. I reached out to Jay last week. He's like, "Yeah, I'm a little busy. I don't know if I really want to take a break from the sun and fishing in Florida to do a podcast live stream." But he's back in Wisconsin. What were you doing? Were you just breaking in the boat? Were you practicing? What were you doing down there?
No, I don't actually have the boat yet. That should be here hopefully in the next week or so. I'll be going to pick that up and then getting the boat and the truck wrapped. But no, the last week I just wanted to get down there just because I've never actually been to the St. John's, and just to see Florida. And basically I didn't want to go down there to necessarily catch fish. I wanted to go down there to find the areas that I thought were going to be productive. So then when I went there for official practice, because we only get 3 days in the Elite Series. So like when I go there, I didn't want to have wasted time looking for those areas that look good. I wanted to know where those areas were, and I could just run to them and fish them and see if they were productive or not. And yeah, that's basically what I wanted to accomplish down there. And then just get an idea of run times, gas consumption, because that place is massive. And then escape Wisconsin for a week because it was pretty nice down there.
So was that right at the end of the cutoff you were down there?
Yep. The cutoff was on the 10th for the St. John's. So I was there the week prior, like the 7th, 8th. I spent 3 days out there. I think it was the 6th, 7th, and 8th. And then I went to the Harris Chain for 2 days after the St. John's, which is like an hour and a half from the St. John's. And pre-practice there for 2 days. And then that night we got in the truck, drove till about 2, and then finished it out the next day.
Good times.
Yeah. The 2-day drives are not going to get any easier. That's for sure.
Do you have travel plans? Are you running with people? Are you camping?
Yeah.
Hotels, Airbnb?
I'm actually traveling with another Elite Series guy. His rookie year, his name is Alex Redwine.
Okay. Yeah.
He just qualified.
Ohio,
he's 22 as well. Yep. Ohio he's from. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to reach out to him and see what he thought. And he was on board with it. And we actually stayed together when we were down there too in pre-practice, just hanging out, getting an idea of what the lakes are going to look like and how it's going to set up down there.
He actually was just posting. He ran out of gas on the water.
Yeah, I know. He was Snapchat me. I was like,
I got to kick it. I told him it was good luck. Like, so the first time I made the nationals, which was on Lake Monroe in Indiana, the second day of the tournament, I actually ran out of gas twice in the same day of the tournament. So like,
it's pretty good.
It was the first time Old Milwaukee was like the title sponsor of the Bass Nation. And this was like 2013, 2014. You were like probably in like 8th grade or something. And enjoyed some of the festivities, and like it had a really sweet place in the hotel, and it was all resort, it was right on the water. There's a ramp there, but it was like 10 miles to get gas. Ooh. And for whatever reason, I thought I had enough or forgot about it, and was out fishing the second day, and I was fishing with the leader from Michigan, and we both had fish, and all of a sudden I'm like driving around. I got an older Bass Cat 05, and like the gauge is a little wonky on it, not super accurate like it is in older bass boats. Yeah, right. And all of a sudden, like it would go, kind of bouncing around, and all of a sudden like we're driving for a while, and I was like, I haven't seen that thing move in a while. I was like, ooh, that ain't good. We should probably maybe just stop and put a few bucks in. So we like go in, and you have to go into this little no wake zone to get gas. And as I'm like maybe like 20 yards away, the engine kills, and I literally just crash into the dock with the nose of my boat because I can't put it in reverse. So I put like 15 bucks in, or 10 bucks, or 20 or whatever. But yeah, it was like $1 less than I should have put in. Because as we fished the rest of the day, and then I was running back in, and I got about a half a mile from the ramp, and we both had fish in the live well, like, whoa. And like, but luckily it was like right as we were coming in, and I had like decided, I was like, it started to see the thing where it wasn't moving again. So I was like, we skipped the last spot, and I just started to run in. And then I was like, put clips on your fish. And I jumped up and like started waving. Somebody came and grabbed us. We got in, and I just, put my talons down and made a note on a jerky bag so that people know we didn't fall in, and like got our fish weighed, and then got the boat. And then I made nationals. And then your first year at Vermillion, I went out because there was no off limits, back when Pat Flopper would practice for 4 weeks before a regional tournament. I went there Friday night and dropped the boat in Pike Bay, and I literally made it like a half a mile from the ramp and ran out of gas. I didn't realize I had like literally showed up at the lake with no gas. And then obviously I made it to the nationals that time as well. Yeah. So expect big things from red wine now that you ran out of gas, and maybe I don't know if it works in the unofficial practice or pre-practice, but
yeah, you never know.
I don't know if it works intentionally though. So
yeah. Well, I think that was his first time ever running out. So
yeah, and then he ran out of then he trolling motor, and then got within like 100 yards of the ramp. His trolling motor died. I don't know why I had all his graphs on though. Like if I know that I'm like turn some of your graphs off when you put the trolling motor, then you can still. You probably could have jumped it if you would have had like a kids. These you learn when you grow up.
Yeah.
Cool. So, have you been to Florida before this pre-practice trip?
Yeah, I've been there. We fished a open there. I fished as a co on Kissimmee, which was, I learned. They were kind of like pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn. It was like the end of January, and there was a pretty big wave that came up like a couple weeks prior. And I feel like it could fish similar to like some of the lakes we have like just north of here. Just a lot of basically, we don't have the hydrilla that they have on some of those lakes, with the exception of the St. John's. They don't have any grass there anymore, but like the Harris chain, there's a lot of hydrilla, a lot of eelgrass, stuff like that. A lot of offshore fishing. There's a lot of things to offer on that chain. I think a lot of the lakes set up, you can basically fish any of the lakes. The way you like to fish, you can find somewhere that you can do that, whether you have to run an hour, go through some Sona wakes, stuff like that. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of options there I could see. And we're going to be there at a fantastic time. I think it's middle of February, and it's during the full moon. Like the first day of the tournament, if I'm not for certain, is like the first day of the full moon, which is going to be who knows? It could be kind of crazy, but
So fancy fishing wise, if you guys see a warming trend going into the Harris chain, bump those tiebreaker weights up because it could be a smash fest.
Yeah, I'd say.
Nice.
Yeah, St. John's, I don't know, because if it's looking at the weather right now, I'm not sure. Hopefully it changes. As of right now, it's looking pretty chilly there for the next couple weeks. But hopefully once we get there, we see a little break in the weather. Otherwise, it's going to be a tough tournament.
Which, yeah, it'd be interesting to see because it seems like they haven't hit it pre-spawn.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's always been a bit of a warming trend in all the tournaments. So it could, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see the St. John's in a true pre-spawn as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I mean, it's Florida. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen there. Those fish don't know when to spawn, or they spawn for 3-4 months. Here they spawn for 3 weeks.
Yeah, typically when you have those banner events, though, it's like they get that cool stretch and it just kind of stacks up for a big wave.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it gets warm. And then,
if they have that kind of warm spring that never has that cold to push them back, then you just have that kind of just kind of trickle in
here and there.
Pretty cool. Let's jump back to a few questions we had. You mentioned jigs. You got any advice for budding jig stars?
I would have to say go with, personally, I use Strike King jigs. The Denny Brower jig is a great choice. You can swim that jig. You can flip that jig. It has a great hookup ratio. Now, if you're fishing it, it depends on where you're fishing it. I mean, if you're fishing in like heavier grass or you're like punching more like milfoil and over in Minnesota, I know you guys do that quite a bit. Like bump it up to like a 3/4 ounce, half 3/4 ounce. Where I like to fish, I just throw a 3/8 ounce with just a Menace trailer on it, a Strike King Menace, and anything natural, green pumpkin, blue craw. Occasionally I'll go to black and blue if I feel the need. And yeah, I mean, I don't really go too far outside the box on jigs with colors. I mean, I use 2 colors. I use black and blue, and I use that green pumpkin right there.
This is actually green pumpkin blue.
Oh yeah, that does have a
little
flake
fleck in mine.
Yeah, a little flake never hurts. And
got the bait cam.
Oh, there you go.
Look at that. You know, we had to break out the bait cam. Yeah. People that watch a lot of my videos are no stranger to the Menace Grub. That's a staple for me.
Yeah, that's a really good bait. You can use that bait on just about anything. Chatterbait, swim jig, buzz bait. Anything you can swim or reel or flip, punch. That's an awesome all-around bait.
Have you played with the Magnum or the baby Menace Grubs at all?
A little bit. I played with the baby ones a little bit. I like those for like bed fishing, actually. You can put like a little bit smaller hook on. They get a little bit easier. You can also use that. You can use that on like smaller swim jigs. I use like, sometimes I'll go really small on a swim jig if the bait's small.
Right.
Or then the Magnum I played around with like punching and stuff is when that comes into play.
Nice. So most guys up north favor the smallmouth. Do you favor them as well?
Yeah, I'd have to say so.
In a tournament, which ones do you like to lean or rely on more?
Smallmouth.
Okay.
Personally, I just feel like even though if I'm in an area where there's smallmouth, whether they're there or they're going to be somewhere in that general, 300-yard zone, once you find them, I feel like they're just easier to catch and target, and they just bite better than largemouth, even if you don't have conditions that are perfect for it. I think smallmouth is the way to go. Up by me anyways. It could be different for other people. Are there any techniques you think you need to work on? The only thing I would say on that would be any techniques I'd need to work on for the elites. Around me, we don't do any per se ledge fishing, they call it. They call it ledge fishing. It's really not. as elaborate as it sounds. I mean, sometimes it could just be a 3-foot drop on a 6-foot flat, or it could be, going down a. No, it's really, they make it sound like it's much more than it really is. But yeah, maybe like I could get a little more knowledge with like deep cranking or like throwing a deep football jig, stuff like that. I don't do that every day around Wisconsin, and we haven't had really the tournaments that's set up to do it down south. So I think doing things like that, but also staying in my comfort zone, fishing how I like to fish in Wisconsin. I like to fish basically where I know I'm going to get bit. Like if I know, I like to be fishing targets where I feel like I'm going to get a bite at any cast. Like if you just put me out in like a giant hydrilla grass field, I just feel like it's kind of more like a cast and prey kind of situation. I like to be more like in tune with what I'm fishing and, hard targets, things like that.
Right. So that being said, did you fish offshore or shallow at Vermillion?
I did some of both actually.
Okay.
I fished quite a bit shallow. I didn't fish much offshore. I mean, I dabbled with it a couple days. I think I caught maybe 4 or 5 doing it, maybe 2 that I weighed in, but most of them were shallow.
It's a fun fishery.
Yeah, that was a very fun.
Especially for guys like you and I that like target fishing.
Yeah, that was fun.
Just a reminder, hit that thumbs up if you guys can, share it out. Covering lots of good stuff. Try to get as many eyeballs on Jay tonight on the stream. If you guys could hit that just as a reminder. Let's see here. Yeah, it's not so much. I've upgraded the internet a while ago, but I hardwired it in, not relying on the Wi-Fi. It seems like that is making a difference. So glad you guys notice it. So have you fished the Wolf Fox River?
Yes, I have.
You think it's a good fishery? What are your thoughts?
I do. I think there's a lot more big fish, big bass in that place than most people think there are. I fished the Wolf River a lot in the fall. They run out of the tributaries in the fall up there, so they'll kind of feed into the main river, and then they'll slowly work their way down. Some of them will stay there too, and but yeah, the amount of average size, nice smallmouth up there and largemouth is actually pretty surprising in the Wolf and the Fox River area. Yeah,
I actually think it's like the whole system, the whole Bago, Winneconne. Yeah, it's a fascinating tournament fishery, to be honest. Like it's not always the easiest, but it is a really interesting, unique, challenging. It's a fun. I mean, if you like solving the puzzle, it's a fun place to fish, I think.
Yeah, a lot of options there.
Nice, very cool. So what are you running for? I don't know, are you Strike King wrap or what kind of
my title sponsor is going to be Whitewater Clothing. Actually, it's a new company that's coming out. Just should be like in the next couple months, start seeing some products, things like that. And but it's actually a brand new company. It's going to be all fishing gear, rain gear, performance gear, pants, gloves, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's going to be my title sponsor for 2022 and hopefully beyond. And I'll be running a Nitro Mercury, and then I have Strike King Lose on board, and I'll be running all Minn Kota Humminbird products for the 2022 season. So that'll be super exciting.
Have you got a chance to use the Humminbird Live yet? The Mega Live?
I have. Me and my dad fished a bass tournament on St. Clair. It was one of the U.S. Open tournaments in, I believe it was in August. And every fish we caught off the Mega Live in that tournament. We had 23.5 pounds in that tournament. I think we ended up 5th. It was pretty crazy. The thing's pretty solid, that's for sure.
Right on. Yeah, so you actually fished that, so you qualified for the finale.
Yeah, the $1 million
Table Rock or Lake of the Ozarks. I forget
where Table it was. Rock, yeah.
Table Rock. And
that was quite the tournament. We went down there, and that was actually just a couple months ago. like middle of October, or November, excuse me. And yeah, that was insane. The fish there were, I've never caught a fish that deep in my entire life. I mean, I caught a fish in like 85 feet of water. It was insane.
So what did you think of the whole US Open? How many boats were in the finale?
There was, it started off at 350, which was, that was nuts. And then the next day they cut it down to, I believe, 200 the next day. Something like, I think it was 200. And then the last day, the final day, they cut it down to the top 50. And going into the last day, we were in 10th. And we finished. So then once they cut it down to the last day with the top 50, they zeroed everybody's weights. So it was all an even playing field.
You were basically in a 1 in 50 derby for $1 million with your old man.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We ended up, and then we went out that day and we ended up catching, I believe it was 14 pounds or just under that. And we ended up 13th in that tournament, 12th or 13th, I believe.
What did that pay? Pretty decent?
Yeah, it was good. We had, I think it was like 13 grand.
So yeah,
it was a solid payday.
And you had what
for an entry fee tournament? It was.
Yeah, and your entry fee at St. Clair was what, $1,000 or $500 or something?
I think it was $3,000 for a boat. $3,000 a boat, or maybe it was $1,500. I can't remember, something like that.
But you more than made that back at St. Clair, finishing in the top 5. Got entry fee into $1 million tournament and walked away with another 13 grand. So cool.
It was a good deal. Unfortunately, I can't fish that series anymore, though. They don't let elite or any of the pro circuit anglers fish that. So
is your dad looking for a partner?
Possibly, yes.
So it doesn't count that he's won like however many hundreds of thousands of dollars fishing walleye. It doesn't count. So maybe I should ask Mark Kortz if he wants to fish or something like that.
Yeah, you should.
Or maybe who's the young guy out of Wisconsin? Used to run the Kruger Farms wrap. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Can't think of his name.
Dusty?
No, Dusty I knew, but I was saying there's a guy from Wisconsin that I felt like younger. Corey Springle.
Yeah, Corey, yeah. He runs with my dad and all those guys.
Yeah. So where's Whitewater out of?
Whitewater, I believe right now, Aaron Amber is based out of, he's the one that owns, so Whitewater is basically based off of, if you guys ever heard of Scent Block or Scent Blocker, Ozone, those companies, it's basically a branch off of those companies.
So it's an established hunting clothing apparel coming out with their freshwater.
Coming out with their fishing line of gear is what he's basing it off of.
Nice.
So yeah.
So that's going to be right up there with Hook and Blackfish.
Right. It's basically going to be another version of those companies.
Right on. Are you going to fish the Sturgeon Bay Open, or are you going to be able to sneak any other tournaments in, or are you just going to focus on the elite?
Yeah, I'm going to try and fish. Right now, I'm signed up for a team circuit that me and my buddy fish at home, Dylan Minch, and he's my team partner at home. And I'm going to try and get to him, when I can, or at least when I'm around, not busy or pre-practicing and whatnot. I'm going to try and do 3 or 4 of those. The Sturgeon Bay Open, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get to because we're going to be down on Lake Fork, which is a huge disappointment. But I guess it's either, Lake Fork, Big Largemouth, Sturgeon Bay in May. Yeah, I don't know. That'd be a tough decision.
If you can put one of your jigs into a 10-pounder at Lake Fork, you won't even remember.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Nice.
Although I did catch one on Sturgeon Bay this spring that was pretty remarkable. I caught one that was almost 7, and that was pretty crazy stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I was all excited. I'd never been to Sturgeon Bay, and I was going to fish the TBF semis in late September, which is not a good time to be there. It was a terribly tough tournament for them. But when I got into lacrosse last minute, that was the alternate until 2 days before the tournament. And then once I made nationals, and I no longer had vacation time to go over to Sturgeon Bay, so I still haven't been there yet.
I mean, it's good. I'd go there definitely. Yeah,
or go late fall,
late May or early June, and then I mean it can be good all year too. Just depends on where you go. I think it's getting a lot more pressure though the last couple of years. That's for sure.
They're not as dumb as they used to be. Just like Mille Lacs, it's not easy.
Yeah,
anymore.
I can imagine.
Let's see here.
How far are you from Vermillion?
Oh, Vermillion's like it's over 3 hours from where I am. It's probably 3.5, maybe 4. It's not.
Yeah, it's not too close.
Any advice on how long or when do you know it's time to go from co to a boater side?
I would say either if you're having success on the Coangler side, or if you have the funding to do the boater side and you feel like you've had ample amount of time and experience on the Coangler side, and you've had, good draws, you've had good bits of information, you fished, not even if you've really had success on the Coangler side, if you fished, lots of different scenarios at different times of the year on different bodies of water, say for 2, maybe 3 years, and you think, you have a good handle, you look at a schedule the next year and you think, maybe you've been to 2 or 3 of those bodies of water at similar times of the year, and, you think you can make that jump, then that'd be the time to do it, especially if you have the financial funds to do it.
Yeah. Good.
That's my best answer to that question.
Daniel wants to know who's fishing with your dad at the
Danny Woodkey. 2 walleye pros going at it.
Nice. Greg wants to know, what's your go-to sight fishing shades?
Oh, so I actually just fished, I just fished in Florida with my new sunglasses, and I recently just paired up with Waterland sunglasses. It's a new company. They're actually based out of Texas. They're kind of combined with like 6 Sense in that brand. But Waterland sunglasses is my new sponsor for 2022. And I was looking at some old beds down in Florida, and they're pretty solid, I'll have to say.
Are you like more of a green mirror, blue mirror? Do you like
I'm a green mirror
yellow
guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Amber, any kind of amber lens is my go-to.
Is there anything that surprised you when you dug into the elite rules? Hopefully you've read them by now.
Yeah. The biggest thing that surprised me was the no info rule. As soon as we found out we were qualified for the elites, we didn't even sign anything we didn't even agree to fish the elites or nothing. As soon as you found out you were qualified, you could get zero info I couldn't even talk to my dad about, maybe whatever, just about anything. I couldn't talk to my dad. I couldn't talk to anybody. Like, even if somebody were to come up to you at the ramp, and I'm sure this happens all the time, hey man, I caught a bunch of fish over here. You just have to be like, hey,
you really
man,
should be throwing this gator tail June bug worm when you're down here.
Hey man, I'm sorry, I can't get any information off of you, but thanks.
I mean, it even happens right? Like you fish lacrosse, like for the
I
mean, it happens all the time. People are like trying to come up and talk to you, and
that was probably the biggest surprise in the rules.
You ever play with glide baits or swim baits?
Not much.
Yeah,
I don't want to appear.
Probably best to stay away. It's not good for your
yeah, right. It's not good for your hookup ratio up here.
You got a favorite bladed jig?
Yeah, I throw the Thunder Cricket.
I don't know if I've ever caught a bass on a Thunder Cricket.
Really? I like it. The Thunder Cricket, now, I'd say everyone has a time and its place, but the Thunder Cricket, I would say, is more subtle than the rest. It's more of a finesse chatterbait, in my opinion. It just has a little bit smaller thump than like a jackhammer does. Sure. I think that helps.
Yeah, I bought a bunch of them when I went down and fished one of those regionals in Gunnersville when they were the big mega regionals, and I was all excited thinking like, oh, everybody throws a jackhammer, and like for whatever reason I didn't get any bites that week, and now it's just in my head that like, you know what I mean? Like There probably happens lots of baits to lots of people, right? Where you get all excited and you're like, it don't work like the first week, and then you just like they discount them,
throw it out. Yeah, I feel like the chatterbait. I don't know. It was on a really big upward swing, and then I feel like at some point the fish just got to start getting sick of it, right? Or no? I mean, they maybe not. Could just be pure reaction.
To some degree, it's definitely faded, but I don't think it's going away.
No, I don't think so either.
Is there any existing lead anglers you've kind of talked to or got any advice?
I talked to Pat Schlopper.
Sorry to hear
quite a bit, just because he had that year last year, and we've talked prior to that, and he's going to be camping this year, and we talked about lodging, but he bought a camper and whatnot, and I didn't have the funding to do that or anything. So who else I talked to Caleb a little bit too. He reached out, and yeah, that's pretty much about it.
So are you and Alex
guys that I
camping, sleeping in your trucks, renting houses, motel, like what's the plan?
Yeah, hotels and like little cabins anywhere we can find. We actually have the whole season booked and ready to go, so that's pretty good.
Favorite spinnerbaits?
The new Strike King tour grade spinnerbait that just came out is pretty solid, and they came out with a bunch of new blade configurations too. Like they have this, it's that one that's mixed with the Colorado and the Willow.
Yeah,
that one's gonna be pretty good. It's kind of like a compact finesse one too, which will be really good for up here.
Yeah, like that compact finesse Bassman has been a really good spinnerbait. I'm not a big spinnerbait guy, but
neither am I.
That style of spinnerbait, and then also like the War Eagle compact, I've done well on that one as well.
Old school OG baits.
You're probably not old enough to have any old school OG baits. Right. You're like 12 years old.
Let me think. Yeah, not really, to be honest.
So I was digging around doing some organization in the basement studio here, and I came across these little gems. Berkeley used to make these like spider grubs.
Oh yeah.
So they're Berkeley power bait spider grubs, and kind of this plum blue fleck color. It's kind of doesn't have a lot of fleck in it. There's some more that have, maybe it's a mix of plum and blue fleck in here in this bag, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool.
They're kind of like a chompers, but they're power bait.
Right, yeah.
There's been so many like decent plastics that Berkeley has had out that they've discontinued shapes.
I know, right?
Like, it's weird. So if anybody has a like fascination with the old spider grub power bait, I got a bunch of them I found. Just let me know, and I'll probably make you. Yeah, I got them in some other colors. Like a pumpkin. I don't know. I got so much stuff. Look at this. There you go. The old 7-inch pumpkin seed power worm.
That's a fish catcher.
Still stinks like rotten power bait all these years. It's probably like these worms are probably older than Jay is. All right. While fishing in permit, can you listen? I think you can listen. I mean, there's no rules against listening to music. Do you listen to music?
Sure.
You headphones?
Not in a tournament. No. I feel like I'd be too caught up in like, pre-fishing sometimes if I'm just idling around. But like, I just get too caught up in like wanting to change a song because a crappy song comes on or something, and I just feel like it distracts me sometimes.
Sometimes I'll finish a podcast or something on my phone that I started maybe in the truck, but then I don't typically start a new one.
Yeah.
Gotta keep it spicy, you know. I mean, everybody's streaming, everybody's doing videos. Gotta get some extra camera angles, gotta wire it in, get the lighting better. If you love those, Lee, and you need them in your life, let me know. I'm gonna get rid of a bunch of this stuff. Old sensations. I'm not sure what old sensations are. I mean, at my age, all my sensations are old. But if there's things people are looking for, I'm gonna like clean the basement and get rid of a bunch of stuff. It's just under like people want it, otherwise it's gonna get donated to junior and high school clubs. People like the quality of the camera. It's all for you guys. What else did I have? we should maybe talk about fantasy fishing a little bit. So let's tie this in to Jay here. Which of the elite stops they have on the schedule? Which ones have you fished before? And like, other than just your little dip down to Florida, but
yeah. So I fished
anywhere else.
I fished Pickwick.
Okay.
I've also
that's actually not similar time of year, right? Like not way different.
Yeah, it'll be.
I mean, it's ballpark.
Month off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ballpark. Yeah. Lacrosse, obviously.
Which is almost dead smack 1 year before you're going to be there this year, same time of year.
Yeah, literally, pretty much the same.
Feel free to go back and watch my videos if you want to get any tips, Jay. That's legal.
I will, yeah. Hopefully it's the same, right?
I'm sure I'll see just like a few hundred extra views, leading up to the lacrosse tournament.
Yeah, I don't know. That tournament will be interesting.
It's going to be a grind. Like, it's not like we talked about this with Seth too, right? Like, you think back to whatever 5 years ago or whatever last time the elites were there when Seth took second and I forget, won, I think, right? Maybe they got to full 1-1 and but anyways, but like back then, like 12 pounds was like super average. Like, just to get paid, you needed 12 pounds. Now 13 to 14 pounds, they might win it. Whereas back then, you need to be cracking like 16 to 18 pound days. And I don't think that's going to be the case. I could be wrong. Might catch it at the right, but it could be a bit of a grind. Yeah. I think.
If it was similar to was this year, low and just no flow and just everything stayed the same for so long.
Top end weights look kind of good, right? 15 pounds a day, but it was hard to get there. And it dropped off pretty quick. Yeah. I mean, like, even you in the top 10, you didn't have a limit. I finished second. I didn't have a limit one day, right? Like, most of the top 10 didn't have 3 limits. So speaking of fantasy fishing, let's just talk about that for just a minute. So the Beat HellaBass group is open. So to find it, you go to groups. You're going to go to actually join or create group. And you scroll down. We're on the first page now, so you don't have to worry about searching. Click Beat HellaBass. There will be a password. The password is Visor to join. So this is a private group. There will be prizes. I'm pretty sure they're going to be Omnia gift cards and cool stuff like that. So if you guys haven't joined yet, password Visor. It's just going to be for the people that watch the videos, the people that are in the know. So there'll be people competing for all the prizes overall, but this will be a much smaller pool of people, maybe a couple hundred, couple thousand, and fishing for fantasy fishing games for prizes. So we'll have winners every event. We'll be doing videos every week leading up to it, breaking them down. We got some inside info that where Jay's got some experience, probably lacrosse. Might be something, if there might be a good value sneaky pick come there. Depends how much. If he crushes them all year long, he may not be a value pick. So hopefully for Jay's sake, he's not a value pick by that point. But where else are you excited to fish?
Wahi and St. Lawrence.
Did you go out and sneak out to a Wahi or not?
I have never actually been there, but I just feel like it would fit some of the ways I like to fish around here and just structure. I just like to fish for smallmouth in general. And then St. Lawrence for sure. I just feel like I love fishing clear water and sight fishing smallmouth and getting able to look at them.
Sure. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if that type of smallmouth plays that time of year like they do in other places. The place is massive. I've been there once for a TBF regional. It's like, you definitely feel like you go to that part of South Dakota, you feel like you're in like Wyoming. What I mean? It's like what you think Wyoming looks like out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if I had to say, yeah, Ethan, you're funny. Soon, hopefully. I'm getting a YOLO Tech kind of camera for the back of the boat where I can just plug it into the light post.
Okay.
And
which is required to be on the Elite Series. Yep.
Which hopefully I'm going to get some cool footage for Bass and for my YouTube channel.
There you go. You just need to find somebody that's going to edit it for you.
Yeah. That's a good point.
The filming part is super easy. I promise.
Yeah, oh yeah,
editing.
I've dabbled with the editing part a couple times and it takes some time. That's for sure.
David, if you need some stuff, hit me up on Instagram or Facebook, and we could probably work something. We can probably load up a flat rate shipping box and get you a bunch of stuff. If you any thoughts of leaving Wisconsin?
No, I don't think I'll ever leave. To be honest with you.
Right.
I like the 4 seasons, and I like being away from the whole high-strung bass fishing scene. Like, it seems like you get south of, Illinois, you start getting down into that Kentucky Lake region, into that area. It just feels like it becomes so congested with bass fishermen. Like, there's no other, other than crappie fishermen and stuff like that. Like, there's nothing else that people target down there, and there's just so many tournaments. I feel like up here you can kind of get away from that and you can just go fun fishing. And so I feel like, down there would be great. It's great for fishing, big tournaments and things like that. But like, just to get away from there and have the 4 seasons, things like that, I kind of enjoy.
Yeah, maybe when you're old like me, you'll start to think different. I'm starting to get tired of it.
Possible, yeah.
Sean, you were the first one in the group. We will acknowledge that. Explain what again? Fancy fishing? Yeah. So go to bassmaster.com, click the fancy fishing tab, and find Beat HellaBass, and then you can what did I say? The password is visor. I think some people ask that. But we'll have some videos on that for sure. Coming. You have plenty of time. You got till early February to get signed up. So Instagram. Jay's all over Instagram, right?
Yeah, Instagram is just the letter J and then my last name. And then Facebook, just my full name.
You have a Facebook page or just your personal page?
Just my personal page right now. I'm working on getting that transferred over.
Nice. Yeah, probably. I don't know, Tennessee. If we go south, the wife and I have talked about maybe more like North Carolina. It's kind of what we're thinking. So I think you touched on this. You said Oahe and the St. Lawrence, right?
Oahe, St. Lawrence, and La Crosse. The last 3. If I had to pick one, I'd say probably St. Lawrence.
Good choice. I mean, Jason Christie is starting a YouTube channel. I heard.
I know. Seems like everybody's doing it.
So as soon as you win like 5 Elite Series tournaments, and then you'll be able to hire an editor. So it'll be easy.
Yeah. I feel like that's the hardest part, is having somebody to. I mean, obviously you can do it yourself. It's just you have to be very dedicated. Like, you have to be wanting to have that content. Like, you can't miss it. You can't like slack on it, especially when you're fishing a tournament. I feel like it's very hard.
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah. No, I believe it.
I'm trying to think of anything. I guess a good time to open up. If anybody's got any questions in the chat, let's fire through them. We were just over an hour. I don't have a long itinerary of things to cover this week, so this is a great time to catch up any questions. If I miss anybody's question, repost them in the chat. So you're all in on the elites. You're going to maybe fish a few derbies around home for fun. Are you planning to drive back and forth a lot between tournaments, or are you just going to hang? Okay, so you're going to come home? Or
So the kind of the way it works is we have the first 2 tournaments in Florida, so they're back to back, so I don't have to drive back and forth there. Knock out the first 2, and then I'm planning on going to the Classic at the beginning of March, and I'm going to bring the boat with, and then right after the Classic, fortunately enough, the Santee Cooper event is in South Carolina as well. So I'm going to fish that tournament, come home, and then we have a little bit shorter drive down to Chickamauga for the next one, and then back home, and then down to Texas at Lake Fork, back home, and then down to Pickwick in June. And then after that early June tournament at Pickwick, we don't have one till mid-July, and that's on the St. Lawrence. So that's kind of all more, I only have 2 to travel to after June, the St. Lawrence and Oahe. Mm-hmm. So, and that's just kind of opposite ends of central Wisconsin, which isn't too bad. And then we finish up at La Crosse, and I don't hardly have to go anywhere there.
Are you planning to sneak in any pre-practice on any of these events? Or are you going to just mainly rely on those 3 days? Or
Santee Cooper, I won't get any pre-practice on just because of the way the schedule's working. The Chick, and I'll probably get a little bit of pre-practice in on the Chick, maybe on the way to Santee, depending on how that works, because we have a 28-day cutoff rule for pre-practice. And Fork I won't get to, unfortunately, because that's just kind of out of the way. Fortunately, that's a little bit smaller lake at least, so it's not a giant place.
I mean, Fork and Santee are super easy to run. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'll probably hit something and destroy my boat.
They got good service crews on the elites. Don't worry about it.
That's true. And then, that's the only thing I'm a little bit concerned about. Well, yeah, I guess the little stump never hurt anybody, right? And then, after Fork, come home, Pickwick. I probably won't pre-practice there just because I was there already, and it's going to be too early to pre-practice. None of the things I'll find then will be the same.
You already know where the boat ramps are. You're good.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, honestly. Just knowing where to put in, no wasted time. And then I'm going to pre-fish for La Crosse, the St. Lawrence, and Oahe quite a bit, though, pre-practice, just because they're closer, and I'll have some free time in June and that for doing that stuff.
Yeah, Jay's going to be running Lose, I believe.
Yep.
For that. I could, but I don't think Jay can afford me yet.
Not yet.
What's some sneaky striking stuff up north that people need to know about besides the Menace Grub?
Yeah, the Menace Grub is a staple. I would have to say some of their all the striking stuff is so obvious. They have a lot of good stuff that's always used. I guess sneaky striking stuff would be
game hogs. Be one I would say.
Yeah, game hogs are good. I use a lot of anytime I'm around some of their net ochos. Sometimes I feel like sometimes bass, I don't know if they're getting used to the whole Z-Man Elastec deal, but sometimes when you just put on just a regular plastic, like the net ocho that they have, and some of the smaller craws that they have, sometimes that can make a difference to me. I mean, that could be a little bit sneaky thing that they have.
But actually something that lays on the bottom versus something.
Yeah, something that's that lays dead. It doesn't actually stand up.
Okay.
And I really like their top waters. A lot of their top waters they don't get talked about a ton, but a lot of their top waters are pretty good, especially the Sexy Dog Junior compared to the Senior. It just walks so good, and it's really good on the rivers by me too.
What's your strategy for staying focused in a tough tournament?
I would have to say just going with the knowledge that I had from practice is probably my biggest strategy to staying focused. Some of the tournaments down south, even if you're getting bites in an area, this is the biggest thing I try and tell people. Even if you're getting bites in a small area and they're just 12 to 13 inches or 14 inches, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad area. Because there's bass in that area, there's going to be all sizes of bass in that area. I think it's one of the things that people kind of get, I don't know, they kind of lose hope on, or even though they're just catching small fish, when you go down south, sometimes the fish are concentrated in very small areas, and if you're catching a species of bass in that area, that's not a bad thing. You just need to slow down and focus in on and fish what's in front of you, because there's been plenty of times, for example, in the Grand Lake tournament I fished at the end of the year when I qualified, I mean, I didn't have nothing. I think at 9:30 I had 1 3-pounder, and then it was next thing I knew it was 11:30, and then it was noon, and I still had one fish, and Elite Series bursts on the line, and like just those moments where I look back and I was like, okay, I need to keep my line wet, basically, was what I kept telling myself, because as soon as you start running around on a big lake and you have limited time, I had to be in at 2:30. You're going to waste, next thing you know, you waste 45 minutes, you waste an hour where you could have been fishing. And, little did I know, at 45 minutes later, I landed 2 that were close to 3.5. And then I ran close to the launch, and I just kept my bait wet for as long as I could. I had like an hour and a half left to fish, and I was fortunate enough to catch 2 more close to 3 pounds and finished out my limit. And yeah, I'd say the strategy for staying focused is to just, even if you're not catching fish or they're just small, just keep your line wet and keep fishing what you think looks good in front of you.
Cool. Yeah, Will, and we talked about earlier, he's going to run with elite rookie Alex Redwine from Ohio. So a couple of young kids taking on the tour. What are your thoughts on sunglass lenses?
I'm an amber guy,
right?
Just because I feel that now I've used the other lenses as well, and they're good in certain situations. I just feel like amber's the best all around lens. Mm-hmm. If it's cloudy, if it's a little bit sunny, if it's fully sunny, anytime you can put the sun at your back and you have amber lenses on, I feel like is your best odds for seeing, if you're sight fishing or whatever, for seeing the best light spots and things like that. That's just my go-to lens. I guess it's more of just a confidence and personal.
And most green mirror lenses are over they're green mirror over amber.
Yep.
Typically. So that's the really popular combo you see for freshwater. You see a lot of blue mirror for ocean, which is over typically gray lenses, I think. Mm-hmm. And it's just because you're dealing with such more intense sun typically on the ocean. But for freshwater, most people say the green tint over the amber lens. And then like I personally run 2 sets. I have just a straight amber, right, with no mirror that I'll run early mornings, cloudy days, and then the green mirror when it gets a little brighter. I do want to get some of the bright yellows to play around with for like really early mornings and really low light. But
those would be nice at times. Yeah.
Stevens Points, right?
Yep. Right in the middle.
All right. In Wisconsin, do you find smallmouth in the grass a lot? If so, how do you locate him in the grass? Or maybe you don't.
Yeah. I do find smallmouth in the grass, actually. Not as much around like natural lakes, more around the rivers and the flowages we have. Mm-hmm. Some of the flowages we have, grass is actually a huge deal for smallmouth, because they don't have, on some of those reservoirs, they don't really have the current option and like the whole hard bottom rock option to sit on. Like a lot of times in the lakes, all they have to sit on and like where the best forage base is actually in the grass and then around like some of the shorter milfoil. There's a little bit of eelgrass mixed in and some strands of, I don't know exactly what they call it. It's like pepper grass kind of. But yeah, I mean, finding smallmouth in the grass, they don't tend to like sit inside the grass. They like lines, they like hard bottom close to the edge.
Bare spots in the grass.
Anytime there's holes in it or, some kind of stump. They like wood, things like that, sand. Yep. There doesn't necessarily have to be rock around.
Yep, I agree. Ray, who is the Bass Nation Co-Angler Champion from the Watchtower River, I think he's fishing some of the Bassmaster Opens as a co, so he's looking for a pro tip for the Kissimmee.
Yeah. Kissimmee, what's the best thing I learned? Probably it's a big body of water. There's a lot of lakes to run through. I fished Toho the first day, which is it sets up a lot different than the lakes to the south. Toho's a lot clearer, a lot deeper vegetation, hydrilla, things like that. Most important thing I learned would probably be how fast those fish pull up when it's nice outside this time of the year. was probably the biggest thing I took from that. Like we fished on Toho the first day, and I mean there was fish coming up like within 20-minute periods, like coming up to spawn. Like you could see 7-8 pounders coming up to spawn. Now they wouldn't bite, but that doesn't mean that the next day they wouldn't either. That was probably the biggest thing I took from Kissimmee.
What was your best bait?
I threw a swim jig. The first day of that Kissimmee tournament, I caught a 6-pounder on a swim jig.
Like black blue, shad
black
color,
blue,
yeah.
Black blue, striking swim jig with a, wouldn't you know it, menace grub on the back.
Do you like yours horizontal or vertical, or do you switch it depending on what you're
horizontal?
Doing?
I always usually throw it horizontal. I just feel like they see it better. They can see the color a little bit better, and it's not as, I don't know, just personal preference.
What's the best striking shaky head worm?
I like throwing an Ocho quite a bit, a smaller Ocho.
Right. There you go.
Not necessarily, I'm not a big shaky head guy, so like I don't just like go out and throw a shaky head. I like throwing like a 4-inch Ocho on an eco rig. I'll put a little nail weight in it, or I'll just fish the 4-inch Ocho weightless. I prefer an eco rig over a shaky head.
Have you found a good application for the hybrid hunter up north?
I would have to say there's some lakes just south of me that it would probably be pretty killer in the spring. And I actually just played with it down in Florida when I was down there for pre-practice.
It does pretty good in the hydrilla.
Yeah, it does.
I played with them. I guess I didn't throw this one. I threw the 6 cents version, but at Pickwick, and it was pretty interesting what it did around grass.
Yeah, like I was surprised. I threw it right through this giant clump, and I came back with maybe like one small strand without even giving it like a stroke of my rod to rip it free. It was pretty crazy. I was pretty surprised that it came through grass that well. Areas and weather. I'd have to say if you had like a little bit of wind or overcast and you're fishing in like a bigger hydrilla flat, that'd be the best time to, not even hydrilla, could be milfoil.
I would say in places you'd throw a lipless crankbait.
Yeah.
A good place to start and then expand from there.
Chatterbait, that kind of thing.
What are your go-to spinnerbait setups?
So I like to run, typically I'll run no trailers on my spinnerbaits, like no like plastic trailers. I'll just run a trailer hook actually. Yep. And I like the skirt that comes off the spinnerbait that has like the 6 extra strands that run towards the trailer hook.
You kind of make their own trailer. Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of covers up the trailer hook a little bit. And then typically I'll run either a Colorado willow or I'll run double willow. I haven't really experimented a whole lot with like double Colorado or anything like that. I mean, up here it's, I don't know, it's kind of irrelevant, I guess, but down south it matters.
Maybe on the Mississippi, certain times of year.
Yeah,
spring. So what's you got any what's your road eating? Like, are you like a guy that's like super healthy, getting like fruit and vegetables? Or are you like diving into the drive-throughs, or what's your?
I'm not super healthy. I like to, so like boat snacks, I'll get like, typically what's worked out best for me the last couple of years is having like, I'll keep some kind of meat, like venison jerky, beef sticks, any of that stuff. And then I'll keep like just like those prepackaged PB&Js, whatever those are called. I forget what they're called.
The
Smuckers or whatever. No.
You are literally a 12-year-old if you eat those. The Uncrustables.
Yeah, the Uncrustables. Those are good, and they're easy to keep in the boat. And then
my high school angler Hunter Reese is gonna love this. That kid, he showed up at the state tournament at Wabasha with the Sam's Club thing of pirate booty and like 3 boxes of grape Uncrustables.
So, oh yeah, that's good. Beef
You're
sticks.
like, man, I'm getting some pirate booty for the St. John's, is what he's thinking.
Yeah. This is what's in my cooler. Beef sticks, Uncrustables, chewy chocolate chip granola bars, maybe like 2 or 3 bags of like those little bags of chips or whatever. And then I'll keep like probably like 10 or 12 water bottles in there. And then I do like the Mios and the Crystal Lights.
Sure.
I don't really do like Gatorades as much or anything like that. I just feel like it's easier. You can just buy a case of water and it's less expensive.
Right.
But as far as on the road meal goes, anytime. Oh, if you ever have the chance to stop in at a Buc-ee's, it's
Gas station.
It's this gas station establishment. Like I think they're only around like
Mostly
northern
Texas.
Florida and like Texas and Georgia. But oh my God, I've never seen anything like that in my entire life. They had like at least it had to have been north of, if not close to or north of 300 like gas pumps and like at aisles. And like me and my buddy walked in there and it was like 11:30 at night. And I walked into this gas station and you would have swore it was 12 o'clock on a Sunday, like at noon. You just like walk in there and there's just so many people. I mean, like, where are all these people from? Like, and they're just whipping up like pulled pork sandwiches and like briskets. And I'm just like, like, why don't we have this in Stevens Point? Man?
We got Quick Trip. We don't need Buc-ee's. We have Quick Trip, Jay.
True. I don't know if I'm a huge Quick Trip fan though.
Whoa. You didn't come.
Yeah, I'm not.
I don't know. You might not be in Wisconsin for the rest of your life. You keep talking like that. They might throw you out.
We need a Casey's. Those are better.
Oh man. Things got controversial tonight. This is we better switch the subject. I don't know. Head's going to Mille Lacs this year? I don't know that. Is that real?
Yeah.
For walleyes or for bass?
Bass too, yeah.
Interesting. Might have to do some research. Seems like a really fun way to fish. I think I would enjoy that, but I don't know if I have the time.
Yeah,
it's
it
like
was pretty cool.
Week-long adventure, though. That's the only thing. Like us working.
Yeah, it takes a little time out of the day.
So, what did you do for work? I assume you worked a little bit while you were. But what were you doing to pay the bills between?
I worked as a mechanic actually at an auto shop.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked there from the time I started, actually just out of high school, all the way through my tech school years. And currently I still work right there right now, actually. But my boss is super, he's probably, he's like one of the best bosses when it comes to time off and things like that. Like he understands that I qualified for this and like he wants to see me succeed. So he's like, yeah, I understand. Like, but whenever you can come back and help us out, like you're more than welcome. And it's just like the best position I'm in right now.
So if you're like cashing checks, you're never going to be turning a wrench. But if you have a couple rough tournaments, he's going to be like, hey,
right.
You guys need help on that water pump?
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know something. Was there something? What's this bachelor thing about? I feel like I don't know what this story is about.
It's I don't know. It was from the tournament I fished at the end of right at the end of the season when I fished that one up north. It was like on Matonga and Pelican and one other lake.
Okay.
There was something going on with I don't remember exactly what the details.
I feel like you're downplaying just because you don't want to talk about it.
I don't even think it was about me. I think it was about somebody else.
He asked did you end up with a date? Maybe he's mixing you up with another bachelor.
I think so, yeah.
So
I do have a girlfriend.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Stay back, ladies. The demographics are sneaky good for the HellaBass stream with the young 20 females, believe it or not. Do you fish? So you fished obviously the divisional. How often do you fish lacrosse for fun or other tournaments? That you got quite a bit of time there, or not much time, or
I've got
how many derbies have you fished on lacrosse in your ripe old age of 22?
Prior to that, lacrosse regional, I've only fished one tournament out there my entire life. It was a high school tournament. We took like 5th or 3rd or something. But other than that, and that was in the spring. But like I've gone over there for fun. I don't know. I get over there like 3 or 4 times a year.
All right. You know your way
I'd
around.
say. Yeah, right.
Yeah. You just have to get another Dobbin, Sean. You don't really need a mega bass. Yeah, so I guess maybe let's talk about head-to-head fishing. Maybe a lot of people don't know. So it's out of Wisconsin. It's, I forget what the guys that run it, but they've basically been doing it for, 3-4 years now? They started with walleyes. Yep. And in the last couple seasons, they've done bass fishing. And it's basically, originally it was just a bracket style, head-to-head. You'd basically fish head-to-head tournaments to get down. But now I believe there's like an open... Basically, you fish a tournament to get into the bracket now, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's something like that. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing this year, but they're kind of going back to the bracketed format, but it's going to be in team format. Okay. So, like, whereas before it was more of a singles deal, they're kind of getting more back to the team deal. I think it's just because it's more money, a little more at stake. They can, I don't know exactly what they're.
But they do live coverage the full day. Yep. They're in and out of the teams and the bracket matchup. They do a really good job. It
was super cool when I fished it. Like I had a camera on me all day. I had a camera on me for, I made it to, I think I ended up third place in that tournament. And, it was only out of 16 people. So it was like the whole bracketed deal. But yeah, it was pretty cool because you're going one-on-one again. Your odds are better than fishing against 60 or 70 boats.
Right.
A lot of good exposure.
Gabe? Good to see you, Gabe. Wow. People are thrashing Quick Trip in the comments, and it's not making me happy.
Nice.
I would say the Casey's pizza is better, but overall I like Quick Trip better.
Oh yeah. Shots fired.
This is interesting. Are you a grape or a strawberry Uncrustables?
Strawberry.
Okay, I'm a little bit less offended now because I personally find grape jelly and things that are purple grape offensive, and it's not like a real flavor. There you go. Sean's on strawberry. Team strawberry. Hashtag Team strawberry.
It's when the good luck charm comes out. Is when the strawberry Uncrustable comes out.
Blue. It's just there's nothing left. It was actually it was clear rum with the Diet Dr. Pepper tonight. I just got to finish up another bottle before we get another Kraken going. I did actually go to Taco Bell. This is a fresh cup tonight. Taco Thursday for the family. I didn't really feel like cooking or anything tonight. Darius is in the house. What's up, Darius? I feel like one of the other streams must have ended because there's a lot of people coming in here now.
Who else was doing one?
I don't know. I don't pay attention. Jig, what is it? Jig Squad was on earlier. I assume Mr. Bass was streaming. He streams pretty much every night. I don't know who else. There's somebody else that goes most Thursday nights. I usually do Wednesday night, but my 12-year-old goalie had a game last night. She was in the pipes, so that took priority. Yes, Sean. Some people watch fishing, and some people like Jay actually go out and catch them. It's not a combo.
I do a lot
thing,
of watching on YouTube too.
Yeah.
One of them's a combo thing on the bay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of interesting.
I don't mind purple lures. It's purple food that's supposed to taste like grape. I have a problem with. Grape Jolly Ranchers are disgusting. Grape Freezies are disgusting. Grape Kool-Aid, grape jelly. Yeah. Those things are all disgusting.
I can agree with that.
The new chalupas, are you talking about the cheddar chalupas? Or like I try every chalupa that comes out. Chalupa is my favorite thing on the menu. So every chalupa that comes out, I will definitely try it. Black grape worms. Yeah. All purple grape fishing is good. Things you put in your mouth, not so much. Burley was streaming. That's right. Yeah. So I was treading on we're treading on other people's turf tonight, Jay, ruffling feathers. Yeah. Big Bass Dreams. Oliver Nye was streaming tonight. Yes, I have tried the cheddar chalupas. They're right. Decent. Yeah. Monday night, Gabe was against the Natty. I don't even watch regular. Like, I literally watch YouTube. I don't really watch regular TV anymore. Now they're taking shots. You're probably a big Packers fan, right? Or you did not care about the Don't care?
Not a Packers fan.
Are you another fan or just don't care about
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it.
Well, no. But are you a Bears fan?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Oh. I like the Bears better than the Packers, but not by much.
I can't stand the Packers.
That's good. But we have that common bond then. We both hate the Packers. That's good.
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
Is there a backup pan to fishing?
Yeah, there's always a backup plan. I mean, I can always work the rest of my life somewhere at some point. I mean, obviously there's always the thought of fishing going south. I mean, everybody has those thoughts. I just feel like I made it this far at this point in my life, this early. You know, if I take a shot at it and see what happens.
You can fail twice and still come back from this at this point, right?
Hopefully, yeah. I mean,
not that I'm suggesting you will, but
yeah, I mean, I just hope, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna put my time in and see what happens and really try hard at it.
Yeah, Sean, are you trying to get people to leave my stream? I don't know what you're talking about that for. Any thoughts on going visor? Do you want me to make you a Strike King visor?
No, I won't be going visor.
No?
It's not, no. I don't think I could.
I could see Jay giving me the stink eye Vermillion. He's like, who's that old dude wearing a visor? Like, what is he trying to prove? Like,
yeah, I don't think I could do it. Couldn't pull that off.
You don't have the swagger. I understand. It takes a certain bravado to rock a visor.
Yeah, Nagy getting fired. That was good. That was a good start. F the Bears. Yeah, I get that quite a bit too.
Blade baits? I assume you're talking about these blade baits? I've caught a few fish on them, not a ton.
A little bit, yeah.
I feel like the thing is, like, it's the tricky thing where we live is like there's about 3 days between when the jig bite's good and ice up when this is irrelevant.
Literally.
I don't know. Like, it happens so quick. It's like you go from like smoking them on a jig because it's like high 40s, low 50s, and 2 weeks later we have ice up, and then that 2 weeks is when you can try a blade bait. And if you got to work or a wedding, then you miss it.
Yeah.
There you go. He says we got more viewers than Oliver Nye, so suck it, Oliver.
Nice.
Favorite cold water bait to use? What catches the most fish in cold water?
Cold water. I would have to say a jig. Or no, I take that back. I'd have to say either a jig, an Alabama rig, or a Ned rig. I would have to say the Ned rig probably goes on top. Like this time of the year when it gets to, I think I was catching them really good on the river on an A rig, like when the water was around like 47, 48. And then when it got down into like that 42, 41, where they just get super sluggish and like barely even move, like a Ned rig dragging on the bottom or some kind of like swing head or something like that.
That's where you should have been throwing this.
Yeah, or that. Or the jig just dragging on bottom. That's when it probably excels, is when I'd say when it gets below like 45 around us.
I don't know. It could be worse. You could be old like me. You could be like 43 and just doing live streams on YouTube and losing to Matty Wong at the national championship. What's up, Mr. Bass? Favorite A rig? You got what's a good A rig?
I don't really have a favorite. I usually snag them all up and break them off. That's the problem. I kind of just
like
get away with.
Ones? Are you like Flash Mob Junior?
Oh yeah, so yeah, if you're going with like configurations, like favorite A rig would be the 5-arm, and then I like to run like 4 blades in the middle.
Okay.
Nothing crazy, just 4 on each arm, and then the one long extended one in the middle, and then I'll I'll actually run 2 blades on the top instead of dummies. I'll just run 2 extra blades. So then I'll only be running 3 baits total.
Nice. So you don't run dummies?
No.
Okay.
I feel like it's just lighter and it's just easier to cast around.
I assume with Striking's massive portfolio, you don't have a lot of homemade garage baits. No,
we do pour jigs. Like my dad pours jigs for walleyes and stuff.
It doesn't.
So, yeah, no, but.
Are you a frog guy?
A little bit. I mean, I dabble with it.
Not a frog guy. If he's like, yeah, that means no, he's not a frog guy.
Really, no. I mean, if I had to catch him on something else, I would.
Yeah. You're not yearning for that frog bite, like.
No, I'm not like killing to look for it.
Oh man, that hurts. That reminds me of a little clip I just had the other day. Let's see if I can find this thing, just for fun. Let's get a question up that Jay can talk about while I'm. Yep, woe is me, woe is me. 38 to 36 feet water. Ooh, tidal. I don't know. I've seen him like throwing those blade baits along pilings on Chesapeake. I don't know.
Tidal rivers. I have not. No.
JJ's in the house. Think of something clever. Keep talking. I wanted to show something to get us fired up about frogs.
Frog fishing.
Favorite technique. There you go. Go.
Favorite technique. I have to say a hair jig. Marabou.
Not see that one coming. Like the frou-frou little tiny marabou.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tie your own. Which ones do you like?
Yeah, we tie our own, yeah.
Black with tinsel, straight black.
Straight black seems to be the go-to.
Oh. All right, straight black. What, like 330 seconds?
330 seconds to an eighth, depending on the wind. If it's a little bit windy, go to an eighth. Setup, yeah. 7/6. Any kind of 7/6 with a little bit of tip to it. Not too much. You don't want too much tip because you don't want it to load up extremely. You don't want to load up too much. You want to load up just enough to where you can get to your farthest casting point. I mean, the farther you can cast that bait, the better. And then, yeah, I mean, I'll usually run a thinner diameter line, like 6 or 8 pound braid to usually like a 6 or 8 pound fluoro leader. Pretty long. I usually run the leader. Oh, shoot. I usually run it into my reel a little ways. And then,
like 10, 12 feet, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And then, yeah, the retrieve, usually it depends on the depth of water I'm fishing. But like if I'm fishing in like 5 foot, I'll let it hit water, like maybe let it sink for like a second or two, and then just start my super slow retrieve. And I keep like a little bit of a bow in my line, just that little bit of drift. That way, you know, before you even set the hook when you get a bite, if you can just watch your line, especially if you're using like yellow or white line. When you're using that kind of braid, you know exactly when they're either on there for sure, because sometimes they'll actually push it and spit it out. But some of the times you can watch them eat it too, which is pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm. All right. This is for our frog friends on the...
Sounds good.
Just to get people. Like, how could you not love this?
Looks nice. Oh, fuck!
Can't do that with a hair jig, Jay.
Where was this?
That jammer. It's several years old from Laconia in the cities here. That's so long ago. Kruger Farms was still in business.
Yeah.
First fish in the morning. Get a big bite on a frog.
Sounds
just
good.
reefing them in.
Yeah, that's fun.
Let's see.
Looks nice.
John says when you catch one on a frog, that's where you can think back to all of us in this conversation.
Whoa.
Special credit to Bill, my
That
cussing
jammer.
neighbor in the background. So, all right. All right. Advice for a newbie going to Sturgeon Bay for the first time. Let's just assume spring, because that's probably when he's going.
You're gonna be around a lot of boats, and I don't know, my advice would be to honestly, wherever there's boats, usually there's a lot of fish in that time of the year.
Sounds like
it's
walleye
just
fishing.
unfortunately, Sturgeon Bay, there's just not a lot of sneaky areas to get away from fishing pressure out there. Like, they only have certain places that they spawn and certain places that they go in the spring, and generally most of the time there's going to be quite a few boats in there. And if you find boats and you start finding fish, I mean, for your first time there, that's what I would look for.
Yeah, that's against braid to leader on spinning rods. It's a terrible take, and there's maybe a reason that Randy hasn't requalified for the elites and he's still fishing the opens. It's the meta. It's the way to go. There's very few techniques where straight fluoro is probably better. And I'll prove me wrong. I'll argue that any day. Best swim bait if the Kitech. Actually, it's the K-Tech. I think it's pronounced K-Tech.
Is it? Best swim bait?
The sexy swimmer?
I just throw the 3 1/4 sexy swimmer. I don't know. They're all similar, but if you want to catch more fish per bait, I'd recommend the Strike King over the Kitech.
You spy bait at all?
Not really. I've gotten into it like a little bit, like caught a few fish on it, but I'm not like an all-day spy baiter kind of guy.
So you're more of a... You've ever flogged?
Yeah, I'm more of a flogger than a
flogger than a
frogger.
Sure. Right. There you go. You should get that sticker on your boat. I'm a flogger, not a frogger. Advice for going to bait and knock.
Never been there.
I have. It's it depends on when you're going, but it's a pretty... Honestly, I would bet bait and knock is more like... It probably doesn't have the high-end upside of Sturgeon Bay, right? They're not cracking the 7s and 8s, but 4+ pounders, I bet you it would give, all the same. I mean, Sturgeon Bay all at once, I would bet. It's a sleeping giant up there. That place is pretty amazing. And it's when you can fish it on your own terms, weather-wise, it's a great fishery. And if you're not fishing around a lot of other boats in a tournament situation, you're going to probably fish the obvious stuff,
Right.
Go launch in Bay or Big Bay, fish over there, launch in Little Bay. Don't drive around the bottom in case the wind comes up. Cool place though, dangerous place. Yeah, see, I told you, K-Tech. Have you ever tried nylon mono? It's supposed to have more abrasions than fluoro, softer trail baits. So do you play around with any monos or copolys at all? Nylon?
Not really, no.
Yeah.
No, I'm more just a standard braid to fluoro kind of guy.
Do you fish that on just your spinning rods, or do you fish that bait casting?
Just spinning, yeah. Yeah, I haven't actually dabbled with the FG on the bait caster yet. I just don't feel comfortable with it yet, or I haven't. I mean, it came out, it started getting popular. I just haven't tried it yet, I guess. I've just been sticking to my straight braid or straight fluoro ways.
Yeah, same here. I've dabbled with it, and I can't seem to get the right combination of a good enough knot, a soft enough rod, and me not jacking on it. And I'll catch 2 or 3 fish, and then I'll pop one.
Yeah.
There you go. Have you ever caught any saltwater fish while bass fishing?
Yeah, no, I haven't.
I don't think you've put yourself in many situations probably to do that yet.
Yeah, no, I've only been to the St. John's for those 3 days, so did not get any redfish.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we've got just about everybody's questions. The chat is trickled. I appreciate you coming on, Jay. People can follow you.
Appreciate you having me.
I think at Jay Przekurat, as his name spelled out, no space, on Instagram.
Yep.
That's where most of it's happening right now. If you guys came in late, catch the replay, Facebook, YouTube, on your HellaBass. Search that up on your favorite podcast app. And I appreciate you coming on. Good luck, Jay. I'm thinking, I envision that you kind of have your break in like late June, July. That's kind of maybe we'll have you and Alex come on. We'll do like a little
that'd be cool.
kind of like a midpoint of the season.
Yeah, see what's going on.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, Jay said pretty much lock him in. Florida's his wheelhouse for fancy fishing. You can count on him for 2 top 10s. I think that's what you said earlier, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right. Well, appreciate everybody coming on. We had a lot of fun. The chat was pretty lively tonight. And as always, here to help you guys catch more big bass and suck less.